Good afternoon, everyone. Telephone pole deep floods in China and North Korea, supermoons, and more biblical flooding. Is it all related to the squaring of our planets coming up in October of 2024? Let's take a look, and you decide. And we're going to start you off with a Sturgeon Moon, a combination of supermoon and blue moon together. It only happens once in 15 years, and it is this full moon. Nice. So expect higher tides. Will that be the excuse for raging oceans as we, come into this electromagnetic disturbance is the best way I can put it here. October 2024, in just a few months, have you seen an uptick in strangeness? Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune are going to create this squaring pattern in the outer solar system. Single quadrant, and yes, it does happen, but not at this precise replication of what happened in 79 AD. You can see it, but it's sometimes a rectangle. It's not exactly this squaring. Could this be the reason for the change in our world and the floods, telephone pole deep, multiple dams failure cascading? This is the area between North Korea and China. That area that I circled right there. Heirloom, you can see that series of reservoirs going up. They were overtopping, collapsing, and flooding down across the border. As follow those rivers, and they are at maximum flood and beyond. Our infrastructure cannot cope again. That was a massive bridge, which is now, no longer. And we get this again and again, and here's one of the collapsing dams that in turn push so much water that then cascaded and collapsed the next and the next and the next. We've seen this across the planet happening in unison. The landslides, the bridges pulling away, the buckling and breaking of conduits, railroad tracks, pipes, internet cabling, and they blame it on choose your blame of the day. Now, as I was looking at these floods here, 1931, China flood, I guess the most all-encompassing flood disaster they've ever had. But as we look through, if you were going to couple these together, we start to see an enormous amount of central China floods, northeastern China floods, southern China floods. Got floods in Kyrgyzstan as well. This is from July 15th, July 16th. The year's worth of rain in one day, central China. And these were the images that were coming out as I was talking about the crop losses last month as well. Building it up for you here because there's a new set of floods as we speak going on. Now this is in the cities, and we can see buses, cars, and another infrastructure washed away. Again, nature is becoming so powerful, so incredibly destructive. Luckily, these cars were just pushed up into what is now a flood basin. Well, that was the middle of the city. Those cars are lucky because if you do zoom out, you can see the collapsed bridge behind there in a major city, also the massive river, and then these cars are swept away. JP Morgan and Citigroup now forecast 2 supersized Fed cuts this year. The stock market crashed in 2000 and 2007 after the first rate cut. In 2007, gold went up over 200%, more than doubling. Silver tripling, because gold is security in times of uncertainty. And Patriot Gold Group has an OP for Life IRA, where your IRA or 401k could be in physical gold or silver. No fee for life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Give them a call, 888-546-7020. And now on with the video. So I want to ask you, what's going on with all these floods across the planet at the exact same time? Is it the Hunga Tonga eruption that ejected 14% more water vapor into our atmosphere in a single event that is now raining out, in addition to electromagnetic changes on our planet? As we come into October, This should be some sort of inflection point where we should see a ramp up and perhaps a peak into you can't deny this is occurring any longer. And then how do you hold the stability of society together? You confuse. You run away. You abscond with lifeboats full of gold into new locations and let nature take its course. Is that what we're seeing in today's world? Let's jump out into the deserts, Gansu province here, China. There's a place called Dunhuang. Always wanted to visit there, never got out there. Got to Xi'an and Shenyang, but never made it out into this desert portion. Those are the world famous photos. You're in the dunes. The oasis that's been there for multi-thousand years on the Silk Road, and then suddenly out of nowhere, literally, they're just there for a day of picnicking. Wind anomaly comes rolling in, stranding all of these people. They were so lost they could not get back down there. They had to be rescued. All you have to do is go downhill and kind of stumble, but people, they couldn't find their way back. Must have been some intense wind, and it goes to whiteout conditions, or brownout or sandout, whatever you like to term that in the desert beyond sandstorm. All right, so here's Dunhuang. It's in a series of grottos that were carved in, and as you pass by it, you would never know these were here. They were secretive. Only monks knew about it. If you found out about it, it was punishable through the emperors of the day. And some older photos, and you look and you go, what are inside these caves? What's in there that's so mystical and magical that they were trying to protect? Oh, every one of them had these paintings inside depicting different deities, stages of Buddhism, stars, celestial movements, and obviously cycles. Worn with time, but now replaced by modern infrastructure, make it easier for tourists to get up in there. Staying in Asia, finally the tallies are coming in for Typhoon Karina, and it broke all records in the Philippines, even beating Typhoon Onde by just 3 millimeters, but we are talking massive amounts of rain. And again, it continues everywhere. Here's one I found from a video I was going to do, but I never included the slide. Delhi experiencing historic June rainfall, highest in 24 hours since 1936. Dust Bowl era, downtown Delhi flooded. Let's move over to Chital district in Pakistan. Glacial dam breaks, and again, no match. Our infrastructure is just absolutely toothpicks compared to what nature can throw at us. More bridges down, and in these remoter regions, that means you're cut off until the next year until they can get there and start to put in a little bit more robust infrastructure, shall we say. Now jumping up to Tame in Nepal, this is just an occurring landslide / glacial lake break, massive flood in the Khumbu region in the Himalaya. I was astounded when I saw this. I was really just baffled. This is a very, very, very tiny stream coming through, and look at the width and breadth and just the girth of how much land was moved by water and a single flood from a glacial dam break further up. Scary to say the least. This amount of water scouring clean through, these more remote towns. It's truly humbling to see how powerful nature can be. And if you were wondering, this is a picture of the village before the floods, and you can see the size of that coming off. Now, a lot of times, except for the melt season, it's pretty much dry through there, especially when you get into, October, November, December. It doesn't barely rain, so it really dries out. So here's the before and after. You're looking at Tame, right there in the center, a little bit to the right. And notice how wide the river is there. And then when we come to today, that's how much land was scoured away, which is disturbing to think about it. Because I'm really going to bring you back here. Is this electromagnetic change responsible for what we're seeing in the uptick of all these massive earth changes in terms of catastrophic events on our planet that, again, if we're looking at how societies crumble If you lose your infrastructure, that's a fast track to do such a thing. I've been talking about high tides forever with this planetary geometry coming in. Now, these are fishermen who know the tides well. They know the coast like the back of their hand. And look at the inundation and how quick and how strange and how ferocious these tides are. These fishermen caught off guard. And then we come to Reunion Island, these massive waves coming out of nowhere, literally nowhere. Storms are not pushing this. This is a tidal anomaly. Although if you were surfing, you'd be like, man, that looks pretty good right there going left. But, you know, what we're seeing right now, something is amiss in our atmosphere. And we see triple waterspouts in Italy, which is, again, rare. And here it is zooming in closer to the coastline if you wanted a better look at that. And then just behind it, you can see another one descending out of the cloud, possibly even a third with that inverted pyramid there. And we have to jump no further than America. What's this, Southbury? And that's in Connecticut. This is probably making the news by now. The floods are absolutely devastating. And you're looking at our infrastructure in America can't handle this rainfall? What is going on? This is replicated again and again across the entire planet. Japan, United States, Europe, and just the floodwaters are so much more than we've ever built for. And then, of course, we got houses that have been around since the 1930s coming off their foundations. Who would have thought? Something that lasted nearly 100 years in the same location suddenly scoured by our oceans? Yeah, you could expect that with higher tides and different frequencies of wave generation patterns. And that's one reason I think that our world is being restructured. If you knew through cycles of ancient historical documents not available to the public that this was back again and this cycle's in play and it's going to run for how many years? And we're at the intensification stage. The sun's white now. We're seeing all of this electromagnetic disturbance affecting our crust, tides, weather systems, jet streams, cloud cells. Suddenly, is our civilization salvageable in its present form with our very, very fragile infrastructure? Or is it going to allow that cycle to run its course? Whatever gets broken, gets broken. We'll pick up the pieces later on, 2030-ish, and we'll start over again. But in the meantime, we need to hide the gold. We need to move it to a different location. Because if you knew the cycle onset, the duration, the intensity, you would know where the safety zones were too. Think about how our world's being restructured. BRICS-aligned nations will probably have the best chance to survive this. Think about Africa. They don't have that much infrastructure to break. So starting over is not really. It's just rebuilding as you would laying out something from the beginning. Whereas in Europe, Australia, United States, etc., if you're going to lose all the roads, bridges, railways, blocks, all these types of things, that's going to be trillions of dollars to rebuild. That's a non-starter for most. Write that off. Let's move it over there and start the next deck cycle. Strauss and Howe, fourth turning, moving to Africa. The starting flare. It's already up high in the sky for everybody to see. That's why there's been so much commotion. Now comes, like every other movie you've ever seen, the distraction so those in power can escape. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. See you next time. Bye for now.